I hope everyone is doing great. This is Pratishtha, your IELTS trainer. And in this lesson, we are going to talk more about speaking. In the previous lesson, we did learn about how we need to speak. We looked at the task one and what is really expected of us. So, in this lesson, we will talk more in detail about that task and we will try to understand and study what we can do to add more to it. So, with this being said, let us move on and let us see what the topic contains today. This session is mainly going to be about the fluency in IELTS speaking, right? So, what? Okay, one second. Right? So, why is fluency necessary? Right? So, we will practice and focus majorly on fluency, right? So, again, when you're speaking, more than anything else, fluency is the one that's the most important, right? So, we will focus on fluency practice today. Okay, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So, why we need fluency while speaking? Right? We need fluency because without fluency, if we try to speak, our people will not be able to understand us. I mean, to put it as simply as possible, people cannot really understand if we are not fluent, right? And fluency is really important to put across your message in an appropriate way, right? So we will explore techniques to improve fluency in speaking in this lesson. So what are the different techniques in which you can explore fluency? First and the major technique is practice. The more you practice, the better you become in speaking. We will engage in fluency focused activities and drills. So we will do a lot of fluency focused activities where we will speak, we will try to speak, learn tips and overcoming hesitation and pauses. So sometimes, when we are speaking, we sort of hesitate, right? And we don't know what to say. So there are a few tricks that you can use. Practice speaking naturally on various topics. So just again, the more topics that you practice on, the better you will be at the end, right? So just speak on various topics, different topics, read about it, and then speak about it. That is pretty much all that we are going to do. Now, moving forward, importance of fluency in IELTS, right? So fluency is super important, right? Why we need to be extremely fluent? We need to be extremely fluent because, basically, what happens, right? What happens when we are not being that fluent? So, and why does it happen? So, fluency can be affected by fear of making mistakes, right? When we worry too much about grammar. So, my suggestion would be not to worry too much about grammar, right? Because grammar is good, it's fine. They do check your grammar, they do have marks for it, but that's not the end of the world, right? There can be few hesitations, and English is our second language, but I would suggest focus rather on communicating and putting across your ideas, making sure that the other person has understood and just engage them in the conversation. Lack of vocabulary, not knowing the right words can interrupt the flow of speech. So, for example, you don't know a particular word, it can really slow you down. Speaking too fast. Again, if you try and speak really fast, chances are that the other person did not get chance to process the information that you gave before. It can lead to unclear communication and miscommunications. And then overthinking response. Do not overthink response. Your responses should not be truth, like word of truth, or they are not going to judge you on the basis of response. So, in my experience, people usually want to just speak truth. Like if I ask you, what is your favorite book? Right? And probably I don't even read books, but in my introduction, I just mentioned that I read books. So, the examiner will ask me, what kind of books do you read? I would just say that I really like to read fiction. Everyone knows about Harry Potter. I really like the Harry Potter series. I think it's really interesting. Use universal adjectives. Interesting can be for any book, right? So say that. I think the author has done a really imaginative work. I really like how he has combined the story. I really love all the characters there. My favorite character is Harry Potter himself because and to be honest, I have not even read Harry Potter at all. I just watched like one or two parts of the movie, and that is it. But that is something that everyone knows, right? So you can also talk about what kind of things that you like to read. Just say, I like to read comics, if you know that. Or just say that I really am into reading articles that are non-fiction, right? Non-fiction articles online. That is also fine, as long as it's some kind of reading that you're doing. After that, you have moving on to the next slide. Tips for improving fluency. Speak slowly, first of all. Do not rush. When I say speak slowly, I don't mean like take a lot of time, right? Just speak in a normal pace, like I am doing right now, so that people are able to understand you. Use fillers wisely. So I remember I told you use fillers like well instead of saying these are negatives in your speaking, right? So try to say try to use fillers like well, let me think for a second. I mean using is okay as long as you're not doing it a lot, right? As long as it's not affecting your speaking, it's not affecting your natural process. Focus on communication, not perfection. Your main focus should be on communication. Nobody's language is perfect, even if it's an American or a British person, they won't be able to speak perfectly, right? In fact, many of them don't even have perfect grammar. So don't focus on that because that is not your grammar test. It's not a grammar test that's happening. Just focus on communicating and practice speaking every day. So fluency is something that will only come with practice. You cannot expect to just, be there and be fluent at something. It will take a lot of practice for you to be able to adjust to fluency. So you can discuss on your favorite holiday destination, a hobby or activity you enjoy, a recent movie or book you have enjoyed. So let's take the first one, for example, your favorite holiday destination. Now, if I have to speak, and honestly, I will speak in a way that I have no previous experience, I would just say that my favorite holiday destination is Goa because I really love to be around beach. I also like how Goa has something to do for all age groups, all sorts of people, be it young, be it old. Goa has a lot of clubs that young crowd can go to. There's a lot of dancing that happens, so that really attracts the young generation. But on the same hand, Goa has beaches where older people can relax. We can also go ahead and do a lot of water activities, which I really enjoy personally because I'm very adventurous. I remember a time, so I'll give example here. I remember a time when I was in my college and I went to Goa with my friends, and we really enjoyed surfing there. There are other activities as well that you can do on the beach. Usually, the beach is really bustling, and that is the major attraction of Goa. I also think that the food there is really different. As a non vegetarian, I really like seafood, and Goa, according to me, is the best place to enjoy any kind of seafood. So I particularly like eating fresh fish. I also tried crabs and lobster, which is really not possible to find in my city, which is far in north. So you get more of chicken. But there in Goa, I could really indulge myself in seafood, and that is something that I really enjoy. People can have a lot of other holiday destination, and it is always a tug of war between beaches and the mountains. But I think I would really prefer going to Goa over and over again, or maybe near any kind of water body, because that really allows to calm my mind. And that's it, right? Next, a hobby or activity you enjoy. So I can take any random hobby or activity which is not really my interest also, but let's take a random one. For example, um, collecting stamps. Let's take it, right? So there are a lot of hobbies that I really like to do, but one of them is collecting stamps. This is something that I have gained from my father, who actually gained from his grandfather. So I can really relate to it because during the time of my grandfather, sending letters was a great thing. And people usually collected memories. So one of the ways of collecting memories was through stamps. I really think personally, when I saw my father collecting stamps, that collecting stamps really preserves our culture, which is dying in this modern technology driven world. Nowadays, not a lot of people they will send letters. Now it's more electronic, so people send emails, people send text messages, or people video call or are on social media. So letters is something that is getting extinct. I really like to enjoy preserving this culture that is almost 100 years old, and I really like to carry forward this culture that my grandfather started and my father followed. I and my father, we share a collective scrapbook which has a lot of stamps, and I really like to look back at them, and it's almost like taking a glimpse at the history. So this is one of the hobbies that I really enjoy. I do have another other hobbies as well, but I really feel this is something that is the closest to my heart. And that's all. I have never collected stamps personally, but this is something that I can just speak on. And then a recent movie or a book you have enjoyed. Honestly, I don't even watch movies that much, or maybe read a lot as much as I should. But I can just speak on any book that I enjoy, right? So, for example, or maybe any movie that I enjoy. Or maybe you can combine both, because now a lot of books are turned into movies, and a lot of movies, no, no, not movies are turned into books, but books are turned into movies. So, what you can say essentially is you can take 1 minute, right, just to gather your thoughts. You can start with that. A book that I recently read was on one of my favorite characters, which is Steve Jobs. I am someone who is doing a business related course, and this is what prompted me to read the biography of Steve Jobs. And what kind of businessman was he? What was the business activities that he did, which made him so successful, that he is known in the entire world today? So I really like knowing about brands. I really like knowing about people and the story behind them. I am more of a person who reads autobiography, because I really like to know the brain behind the products that we use in general, our day-to-day life. So the biography of Steve Jobs was something that I really enjoyed, because I could gather some insight on what kind of person he was, how his mind worked, and how it is. It just gave me motivation to know how a person as simple as you and I, a regular person, can gather all his knowledge and put into practice and create something as incredible as the products that we have today. So right here, even if you don't know what products he sell, or you don't know, what is there, you can just put like some very universal words. You can use universal words here. So you can just say that is something that I really enjoyed. And in fact, I got really motivated as well. Even though it's like I really learned that it's taking smaller steps into something, to create something big. And I have really inculcated that in my daily routine. So now the examiner would not really know. Probably they have not read about Steve Jobs and his book and all of that. So just speak whatever you know, right? Or whatever you think can be in the book. Just probability. Then you can practice describing any picture. So just talk about a picture, describe what it is, what are the people doing, what is the idea behind it, what did you learn, how can you relate to it. This is one of the, it's not an IELTS activity, but this activity will really help you improve your fluency because you will have visual cues in front of you. Then always you can do a lot of role playing activities. In our previous lessons, we learned and we did a lot of role plays as well. We did ordering food in a restaurant. We went through asking for directions for a particular place. And we also tried making phone calls to book an appointment. We did all of these role plays in previous videos. So I would really suggest go through it again if you don't know what it is, and try to make up those conversations in your head. Try to play those conversations again and again. There are some common mistakes to avoid when you want to practice fluency. Do not rely too much on fillers. Fillers are definitely helpful, but they are not something that you can rely on constantly because that would just make you look like you don't know. You're not confident enough to speak. You're not speaking naturally, right? Do not overthink responses. Again, when I was talking about the Steve Jobs books, I have not read it, but I did not overthink about it, right? I just spoke what could be there, right? Because Steve Jobs is such a big figure, it could be motivating and inspiring to know about his journey, right? What all hard work must have gone through and his little incidents throughout the life. So that is like common for any book that you will read, right? So don't overthink, just focus on speaking naturally. Don't speak too quickly. Your pace should neither be too fast nor too slow. It should have a balance. I would suggest really try to have a balance like that. Focus on grammar. Again, fluency is mostly about, if fluency is not mostly about grammar, grammar is something that is a completely different aspect of speaking. Fluency is not one of those aspects, right? So I would really suggest don't really stress too much about grammar because grammar will be okay once you start practicing, right? So right now, your purpose should be to be able to have those kind of ideas in your mind. You can try to practice some difficult pronunciations like the R, rolling your R, rolling some words, using some words, practicing vocabulary, and all of that, right? Record yourself, listen to those audios again and again. That will really help you understand where you're lagging. You need to mimic native speakers. So try and mimic these people, right? Try to listen to these people and try to imitate what they are trying to say. And then focus on the stress of the word, right? So your speaking should not be flat, right? You should have some sort of intonation in your speaking. Pay attention to where that stress is in the word or maybe in the line as well. And that will really help you, be fluent. Always you can take help of someone, right, who can grade you on your fluency. They can grade you on your how fluent you were. Basically, how was your pronunciation like? They can correct you on your pronunciation, and they can also tell you if you spoke, you look natural or was it not natural at all. So take feedbacks, that is important. And that is pretty much all that there is to practicing fluency. I would suggest that take all these tips into consideration and practice more. We also did some fluency drills where we just spoke on the spot. We also discussed some challenges and mistakes that are usually there when we are practicing to be fluent. I would suggest just record yourself, speak on a topic for 2 minutes. Even if you're not able to speak for 2 minutes, it's fine, but just start somewhere, right? If you don't start, it won't happen. Practice speaking with a friend, take anyone, take your family members, your friends, anyone who can genuinely grade you on your fluency. And that is all that there is to this lesson. Again, for speaking, fluency is the key. Be communicative, be natural, and everything will fall into place. So, all the very best for your speaking practice, and I'll see you in the next class.